How's it going, guys? Chris here. Today we're going to be looking at the everything crisis in Australia. His full link to his video will be in the description below. But yeah, everything's a crisis in Australia at the moment because, you know, on your average income, you can't afford a house, you can't afford rent, you can't afford groceries, you can't afford everything. And people are used to being able to afford stuff by working, their standard 40 hours a week. And since that's not the case anymore, it is a crisis, and let's get into it.
Right now, all of Australia's major issues are being described as a crisis.
The housing crisis,
public health crisis,
baby crisis,
electricity crisis,
rental crisis,
cost of living crisis.
We have a housing crisis where people are sleeping in their cars because rent is unaffordable, where real estate agents are telling prospective renters they'll have a better chance if they offer more than the advertised rates, where young people think they're forever shut out of any chance of owning a home. We have a mental health crisis, which means youth is no longer one of the happiest times of life. We have a youth crime crisis where in New South Wales, not enough cops to stop it. We have a disability crisis where more than 1 in 5 Australians, 5.5 million people, are living with a disability. We have a birth rate crisis where Australia's fertility rate has fallen to a record low of 1.5 babies per woman in 2023, significantly below the replacement level of 2.1 needed to sustain the population. A looming retirement crisis where a growing amount of Aussies will retire still owing money on their home loan. An energy crisis where we give our coal to China and Japan for pennies on the dollar so they can burn it for cheap electricity. An energy crisis where Australia was meant to have a gas boom, but somehow have turned it into a nightmare. And of course, I can't talk about the energy crisis without mentioning the climate crisis. To sum it all up, it's the everything crisis.
Yeah, when you put it all into like one long sentence like that, it sounds absolutely horrible. And to add on to that, we're on the loom of a recession, right? Like, it's, from what I'm watching, what I'm hearing, it's going to be worse than it ever has been before in terms of a recession, and it's gonna hit everyone, and it's gonna hit people real hard. Like, even though people are struggling now, imagine when people don't have jobs, they can't afford actually anything because they're not making any money, and the government doesn't have the stockpile of cash like it did pre-COVID to stimulate the economy. I mean, they didn't really have the cash then either, but they had, the ability to get a lot of debt, where now it's, we've got to pay that debt back. So there's a limit to how much we can take on, right?
Today I'm going to talk about Australia's relationship with the apparent everything crisis. I'm going to talk about the she'll be right attitude and how it's played a role in things. And I'm going to talk about why continuing the she'll be right attitude, especially towards your finances, will not lead to a good outcome. This channel was created for people who want to take a look at things at different angles. It's not about being right or wrong. Indeed, it's very hard to distinguish between truth and fiction these days. The hope is to challenge your perspective so that you can position yourself in the best possible way for you. If you want to support the channel and need help with a home loan, then you can chat with me via the links below. The phrase she'll be right reflects one of those loved attitudes that helped form part of the Australian identity. It was forged out of hardship. Early settlers faced tough, unfamiliar conditions, unforgiving landscapes, unpredictable weather, and a level of isolation thought not possible by many who came. Without any external support, the she'll be right attitude was formed as a way of coping with adversity. The adversity of the World Wars cemented the she'll be right attitude as one of Australia's most iconic cultural mindsets. There are, unfortunately, trade-offs. I feel like a big trade-off has been that the typical Australian goes about their business while we let the politicians worry about all of that other stuff. Unfortunately, we now live in an era where wealth has become concentrated and politicians create systems which help their donors more than their constituents. We have things like
100%, like, the reason we got to this situation is because of greed, right? You look at the politicians, they're making like 500, 200 grand a year. And they, like, obviously there needs to be some sort of compensation for being a politician. But when you're making, 4 times the average Australian salary, that's insane, right? You're making so much more that the policies you're choosing to create and push don't affect you because you're so much like any sort of tax regime won't have any major impact on you, right? Like, you're able to weather any storm because you're making 200 grand a year. No matter how much shit goes up in price, 200 grand a year for the next 10 years should be well more than enough to be able to do anything. You know, when you own 6 houses and you rent them out, like, you're pretty much set, right? These politicians make way too much money, and it's just greed. Like, they don't care about us, even though they're put in to care about us, right?
The ACCC. The ACCC promotes competition and fair trade in markets to benefit consumers, businesses, and the community. That's what their website states. Yet this is the reality. The big four banks control 75% of banking. Insurance, 3 companies dominate: QBE, Suncorp, and IAG. Telecommunications, we have just 3 networks that run it all. Iron ore production, BHP and Rio Tinto control 75%. Retail, Wesfarmers runs the show. And when it comes to media, you're getting your news from just 2 companies, Nine Entertainment and News Corp. Do you think the ACCC are doing their job? That's the reality of Australia's corporate landscape. A few giants running everything. Australians are starting to claw into the fact that reality isn't what they thought it was. The nation had the rarity of going without a recession for 25 odd years, and that led to a lot of complacency, which is now leading to expectations having to come back in line with reality. And people quite rightly don't like it. Oddly enough, for a country with a she'll be right attitude, we also have become really good at complaining. The point of this video is to point out that if so many issues are being described as a crisis, then maybe there are some big problems, but not to focus on these big problems and complain about them, rather than focus on what you can do, what is in your control. I've been looking at the balance sheets of Australians for 19 years now, so I guess I'm qualified when I say Aussies take the she'll be right attitude when it comes to their finances, which is to say we don't really do that much. We stick our heads in the sand until we realise we're getting abused. There's no one right answer here, but more people will need to do more to ensure they get the things they want out of life. If you want to get rid of your
100%. Like, if you're, earning, working 40 hours a week, so there's no chance of you being able to survive anymore. Like, unless you're very high up and you're making good money. But one easy control that you can take in your life is working more hours. Does it suck? Yeah, but at least you're staying out of living in your car. Which a few of you guys have commented that you have given it a go, and yeah, it's not the best. So yeah, I wouldn't be testing that out right now in winter either. Like, so the easiest solution to this whole everything crisis, I guess, is working more hours. But when you can go overseas to like Southeast Asia, and if you can make money online, which these days, I'm not going to say it's easy, but there's so many options to make money online. You can make like, $500 a week online. If you go live in Asia, your quality of life is extremely better than what you would ever have here. Like, you could probably work, like, if you actually got good at working online, you could probably work a couple hours a day, make $500 a week, and you could actually live a good quality life. So I think that's the problem with Australia at the moment. It's not. It's more or less, we've had such a good time the last 20 years, and now it's gone to shit, where you can't afford anything working what we considered a proper work week of 40 hours a week. So the fair and unbalance is becoming unbearable for so many.
Mortgage ASAP, you can click the link in the description, which will show you 3 videos on how anyone can get rid of their mortgage faster. Maybe you're holding a portfolio and you need to restructure. Whatever it is, you can find a link below and set up a time to chat with me. If you like this video, then please let me know in the comments. Unfortunately, I can't respond to them all, but
Alright, well, that's it for that video. But yeah, honestly, guys, like, comment down below what you guys think. I think, yeah, it's tough right now, right? And will it get better? Probably not. Like, especially on the cusp of a potential really bad recession. It's time to, I guess, adjust and figure out what you want out of your life and whether it is worth staying in this country. Obviously, we're very safe, and a lot of people want to live here. With the mass immigration, it's pretty evidently so that people want to live here. But is it worth it? I don't know. It's up to you. Like, if you're able to increase your income enough, then potentially it is still worth it. But for a lot of us, that's not really an option, unless you create your own side hustles, create your own business, which again is not an option for so many. But anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think below, and if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.